Product design is the dominant industry label that we know at the minute. And what that kind of reflects is it's a broader scope, strategy, systems and outcomes, more so than the other kind of pixel pushing type roles. And then renaming doesn't magically change your skill depth. You're still doing everything you're used to and all those qualities and skills you've brought, but that's just another title you're known by. Then the tool obsession problem. So a lot of kind of in hiring and that, it's over-indexed. You know, you're hired because you use Figma, or you're hired for these different tools and roles that you become proficient in, but they become shorthand for competence. And I have 3 more colleagues down the back there if anyone wants to chat. Holly, Sarah and Kate. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about theory and tenacity over tools and titles. And a little bit about me. I think Dima covered a lot of it there, but I'm originally from the south, from Leitrim. But I've been in Belfast 27 years and working at Rapid7 cybersecurity for the past about year and a half or so. And I've had a varied design career that I'll get through later on as we talk. So the UX industry is changing fast. Titles shift, tools rotate, expectations expand, but what actually endures is how we think and how we persist. I've seen this type of thing all over the internet, like we've major identity crisis. What are we? You know, we were UX, UI designers, there's content designers, UX, UI, lots of slashes, interaction, product designer. And then some titles I've gone by over the years, starting out in the early days, like barista, sandwich maker, pirate in a kid's play world. Then we're getting into the serious jobs in publishing, graphic designer, barista still a thorough kind of back burner there, studio manager, senior graphic designer, pre-press operator. You had to use your brain in different ways. That was in the print industry, starting making books and learning position software and all that type of thing. Got important ones there, wife, mum, a name change, that's a big thing where you have a title change. And then independent design professional for about 5 years or so. So that was a whole mixture of work, doing direct-to-client work, taking anything really, working in agencies and that type of thing, in and out, kind of doing different roles and wearing different hats, doing it all yourself as well. You've got to do that whole adage of buy the pencil, sharpen the pencil, sell the pencil. You're doing all that too. So then I want to get back working with people again. And then I had the role of digital designer. That was with Ardmore for a couple of years from 2014 or so. And then we're a UX designer. So that was, CME was probably the first in-house role doing that as a user experience full-time designer. And then was there for about a year or so. And then at Contrast Security was a startup. Rick was with us there too for a wee while. So about 5 years, that was learning the whole cybersecurity industry, what that was like. And that's full enterprise UX, which is another beast in itself. And then I started with Rapid7 last 2024, taken in as lead UX designer. And then we shifted the roles. We became staff UX designers. Just they changed everyone. But in general, there is a great renaming going on. So product design is the dominant industry label that we know at the minute. And what that kind of reflects is it's a broader scope, strategy, systems and outcomes, more so than the other kind of pixel pushing type roles. And then renaming doesn't magically change your skill depth. You're still doing everything you're used to and all those qualities and skills you've brought, but that's just another title you're known by. And then it doesn't, there's various reasons why is this happening, like in the companies and orgs that we work in, it's things like hiring trends or org maturity, business language, that's why these roles are shifting, and that's okay, we'll just go with it. Then the tool obsession problem. So a lot of kind of in hiring and that, it's over-indexed. You're hired because you use Figma, or you're hired for these different tools and roles that you become proficient in, but they become shorthand for competence. And like over my career, maybe everyone else is here, we've had many tools. You just shift with, you just pick up whatever's going at the time. We have PageMaker, Quark, if anyone remember those. There was the whole Adobe, learned all of that to carry on. Sketch came, blew everybody out of the water. And then Figma, and then we all became very proficient in that. But like your roles shift, and that's what you become known for. It's just, can you use Figma? Okay, you're hired. And then there's others, like whatever's next. The pattern will repeat and again and again. And then you've got like your day-to-day tools, just running business and comms in general. Like when they shift, that can be a big change for people working in companies as well. Just moving like from your Outlook to Gmail, or we had a recent one, Zoom to Google Meet, and everyone's nearly having breakdowns because they have to learn and relearn everything over again. And then AI, of course, has come in, and that's shifted everything again. And I'll not go too much into that. Gabrielle covered a lot of that very well. So, but communication is key. Like if we go back just to our whiteboards, drawing, that what you're doing there is communicating with people across all your partners, your product designers or your product managers, engineers, all of that. It's great just to be able to jump in front of a whiteboard and kind of thrash it out. But things that will tools are temporary, so principles will outlive that. So things like, tools are constraints, not creators. Every tool encodes someone else's assumptions. And then if you know why you design, you can adapt to how you design. And then what actually defines us as designers is theory with that technique. So things that we can lean on is human-centered thinking, cognitive psychology and perception, systems thinking, and interaction models and mental models. Like they're the things that we can really harp back to and kind of set the stage on anything that we do. And what that means kind of in practice then is utilising all of that. So even at Rapid7, like over the past year or so, we had a new leader come in, Mal, back last year, and we looked at this. A big piece that was brought in was the object-oriented UX that we all kind of latched onto. At the start of last year, we started looking at it. We've always used the jobs to be done. We've got use cases, jobs to be done. That idea is you're discovering the real problems and then using the industry framework. So in cybersecurity itself, there's so many ways you can skin a horse, so many ways you can do stuff. And we have a lot of tools, they've acquired certain tools over the years, and we're trying to build this or bring it all together in one platform. But using some of these existing industry standards and frameworks is, useful to lean on something. And they can change. Last year we were looking at the NIST one, but now it's the latter. It's like the open cybersecurity frameworks. And then the object-oriented UX, that's a really, I'll not go too far into that. People have done good talks on that before, but it's like just nailing everything down back to your nouns and that. And there's a whole process around it that I'll get to later. And then, of course, talking to your users. So whatever you're doing, understand their needs and wants, and then you're creating, you're validating, iterate on that, and then rinse and repeat. And then I'll put it into practice here, just like some of the examples for us, where we start with who it's for. So some of the personas there, like our primary, we've got this thing whether we are managed services customers and they're our main user, but we'll have internal people using these tools and doing the service for them, where sometimes we get blindsided. Are they the end user? But they're not. It's the end kind of managed customer that is going to receive the benefit of these things. So that, and then go back to your use cases in here. So people are setting up automated workflows, response workflows, want to contain and isolate. I've been working in the automation in the SOAR side. That's your security orchestration. Nothing to do with this, I don't think. It's just coincidence that that's what this is here. And then they want to track progress and communications for automations. And then that's just a flavour of some of the work that goes into that. We'll do our relationship diagram, so figuring out what all the components and pieces are. So like in this whole automation function, that's some of those laid out up here. And then this is our object modelling exercise where you're like just throwing out all the words, all the attributes. There's a whole formula to this. And this is like in a sticky whiteboard example, but then we've also got it looking at it from the content angle. We've content strategists, and they're very be pure, Excel sheets. And so everything we do here will go into those Excel sheets, and you'll have that kind of clean content model. And then that'll go to our kind of data scientists as well, and then to nail that down. But it's really good. Like I haven't seen something work that well for a big gnarly problem like unification of things, where you can hone it down into the little pieces, and then it will show up in the end what it will be on the screens. But we've really moved away. We're lo-fi all the way now, and then only a couple of people have Figma licenses. It was like getting a rug pulled from under us at one point, but we're all kind of settled into the new way forward now. And then that's boiling it back down to it. Like what is the end result with all of this? We'll help our sales folks as well. Like when the Rapid7 service stops threats, when an incident occurs, I'm not woken up to take action. Like that's the main core here. So theory is not just academic, it's practical. So if we're saying, we put affordances in and that aids the usability. Feedback loops bring clarity. Then constraints lead to better decisions. Hierarchy provides comprehension. And I'll stop there just if anyone has anything they want to say at this point. Are they all? We're like the interface. So we build we design the tools. Engineers would build them. for people in the cybersecurity industry. So what they use to find issues and that kind of thing.
So does Rapid7 design its own software systems?
Yeah.
Not using like firewalls or whatever it buys in?
It has everything. It does all sorts. Like there's different factors to it and different facets. We've a huge like internal SOC analysts in that would use our tool to do that work, and then also kind of sell those services to external people as well. So any company could use that security service. But we're, as I say, on the product design team, we're looking at that. So the platform, our main focus is that platform, the security platform. But it is all of that, kind of designing the interface and how those kind of flows work. So then tenacity, this is what we're saying, it's an invisible skill, but not really, but that will get you a long way. And the hardest part of design, to quote Don Norman, is staying with the problem. So tenacity will come in kind of if you're sitting with ambiguity, defending user needs, iterating through failure, or staying curious when answers aren't obvious when we're working with our partners. And then as kind of that vein of the product design requires endurance, so it's broader scope, heavier responsibility. So product designers operate closer to the business outcomes, more trade-offs, more constraints, more stakeholders, and then tenacity is required to hold user-centered thinking steady. And I suppose part of this is we've changed all those roles, so part of this was me kind of researching all of that too to see like what's the difference between your product designer and UX designer. So then like design is a way of thinking, your way of thinking that you'll have honed over the years or paired with empathy and the ability to put yourself in your user's shoes. And then you earn your title by practicing design thinking consistently. And a big piece, that's always a good one, just don't be a dick. In general, we work with many partners and many people, so be approachable. Sometimes we sit in our lofty, high ports as designers, but like you got to communicate and chat with everyone and work through problems. And what's good to invest in then is your theory and fundamentals, communication and reasoning, systems and strategy, resilience and adaptability. And designers who endure will not. Tools will change and titles will change. And the ones who mastered the tool of the moment, but the ones who mastered themselves. So learn tools quickly, learn theory deeply, it will lodge, and practice tenacity daily. And then the strongest designers aren't defined by what they use or how they're called or what they're called, but how you think and persist. And then just to paraphrase Rick yourself, if I wrap at 7, I'll throw in a little recruitment slide, but he was saying we're like the Avengers Assemble and there's a good group coming in there, but there's a lot of people have left too, so there's a couple of roles open. So do hit us up afterwards. Careers at Rapid7. We have Director of Product Design, a Principal User Researcher, and a Staff Product Designer. And more roles in Legal and Finance, if we have those people in the house. And that's me.